Hi, I'm Ben,
And I'm Zach.
and welcome to the Movie Vault. Today we were reviewing the 2009 Pixar movie directed by Pete Docter, Up. Up grossed $735.1 million to a $175 million budget and had a 98% Rotten Tomatoes score.
Wow. Jeez.
So in terms of announcements, we don't really have much for you today, but just to say welcome to the YouTube community. Welcome to the YouTube community if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you aren't, we should have videos uploaded very soon.
Probably within the next week, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yep.
We're still working on it with our team, and we're really excited about that. So now let's get going with the plot.
Let's do it. We got our 5-minute plot summary.
All right, so it starts out with a young Carl. His hero is Charles Muntz. He's watching him speak and everything, and then he meets this girl.
Ellie.
Ellie is the exact opposite of him. He seems really shy and reserved. She is super outgoing, but they both share a single love for adventure. And that love blossoms into a love for each other.
Yep. And they make a little club when they're kids.
Yeah, they make a club, and then that club becomes a marriage.
Yeah. Yes, it does actually. Very true. They unionize in grape soda buttons or whatever pins, and then they unionize in marriage.
And there's a couple sad things that happen in their life. One is that they are unable to have children, and that is shown very delicately by Pixar through a montage. And we see them progress throughout their life in this montage. They're saving up to go to South America to their dream spot, which is by this falls. And they're super excited to get there, but every time that they start building up their savings,
A tragedy happens. Like, he broke his leg, and the tree fell on the house, and etc. Tire popped.
Something just happens that gets in their way. And so because of this, they end up growing very old and never having done this. Mm-hmm. And then right as they are about to, Ellie has a tragic disease, which we don't exactly know what it is. Could be cancer, could be anything.
Could be anything at all, but she dies.
Yeah, she passes away right as she is about to get the tickets. And this puts Carl in a very sad state. Now, they're trying to develop around Carl's house, but he doesn't like this. And unfortunately, he gets into a bit of a kerfuffle with the with the
housing development people.
And he accidentally, or sort of on purpose, but sort of accidentally assaults one of the people from the agency.
And he becomes a public menace.
Yes.
That's what he's labeled as.
He's actually labeled as a public menace.
Yep.
And therefore, he is unable to maintain ownership of his house. He is forced to move into a retirement community. But instead of doing this, he decides to do the only logical thing, which is to put thousands of balloons on your house.
Which, first of all, where would you even get balloons like that?
Yeah.
In the thousands.
Yeah, I don't exactly know how he managed to pull this off.
So he worked at a zoo that had like a little balloon stand, but he only had like 20, 25 at a time, you know? So
yes.
I don't know. That's just weird.
But while he's in the sky, he's all good, and then somebody knocks on his door. So earlier we had met Russell, who is a wilderness explorer, which is, I guess, like the Boy Scouts, sort of. And he was trying to help Carl to get his extra badge. Well, apparently, he ended up being under his porch looking for a snipe, which is a made-up animal that Carl made up, right as the house was taking off. And so he is with Carl, and Carl just has to keep him. But fortunately, Russell gets him through the storm that they go through. Somehow, Carl doesn't know how because he took a nap, and they end up in
South America.
In South America, right by the falls where they were trying to get to. Unfortunately, they're on the other side of the falls, and Carl wants the house to be directly over the falls.
And then the next two parts, they meet Kevin, which is this rare bird that Charles Muntz has been searching for. It reveals later in the movie that that's what he's been searching for, but it hinted at it in the first part of the movie. And then they meet Doug, which is a dog that was trained by Charles Muntz that's trained to track this bird, Kevin. Yeah, so then Doug is asking this bird, Kevin, to be his prisoner and everything. And it's really funny. And
yes.
Yeah, but I don't know. But I would say Doug is probably my favorite character in this movie. He actually has the quote of the movie in this. Let me see what this says. Let me get my reading glasses on here.
We got Grandpa Zach here to read us this
I'm
quote
Mr.
of the movie.
Fredrickson Zach. Hi, I'm Doug, and I just met you, and I love you.
Doug does provide a lot of the comic relief in the movie, along with Kevin. Mm. But we find out that they do meet Charles Muntz, and they do find out that Charles Muntz greatly wants Kevin, and Charles Muntz does find out that they happen to know where Kevin is, and so then there's a couple of chases, and they're about to get away, and they think they've brought Kevin back to his children. So we find out that Kevin is actually not a boy; she's a girl.
Yeah.
But right as that happens, the large blimp that Charles Muntz has...
The spirit of adventure.
The spirit of adventure, more like the spirit of captivity, because it captures Kevin. And instead of trying to save Kevin, Carl goes over to try to save his house, which has all his memories of Ellie in it. And this makes young Russell very upset because Carl had promised to save Kevin
Young
for him.
Russell sounds like some kind of rapper.
Young Russell. Well, there's a rapper named Russ.
Really?
He's not that
and
good.
Young Thug.
And Young Thug. Oh, Young Thug is good. Young Thug is good.
We don't... Okay, I guess we can endorse... We endorse you, Young Thug.
Young Thug. Good. He's also... Yeah, he's on a Post Malone song. That's good. But that's besides the point. He's not in this movie.
Unfortunately.
Carl is trying to regroup in his house, and then he realizes that all the memories that he's made with Ellie are actually enough. Like, Ellie actually did accomplish all the adventures that she wanted to with Carl as he was reading through the book. And this gives him new life in terms of trying to create more adventures with Russell and Doug and Kevin.
Yeah, but the main part is that he needed to rescue Kevin from Charles Muntz.
Right.
And so Russell goes on by himself to go do that. And then Mr. Fredrickson eventually goes back once he has this epiphany. And he goes, obviously he saves the day. I mean, he looks like... He acts like he's an action hero in this movie at this part. Like, there's a part where he zip lines with his cane. And honestly, I want to get one of those canes. He sword fights with the cane. He hits people with the cane. I don't know.
It's a very useful cane.
It's like the pan from Tangled, like from the movie Tangled. You know
That's
what I mean?
true, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like all you can use it for anything. It's a multi-purpose tool.
Yeah, it's like a Swiss Army knife for old people.
So,
I guess Swiss Army knives are for old people.
Yeah. That's true, because it has everything in a little location that's like very easy to use.
Yeah.
I always thought they were for survival, but I actually think they wouldn't really be that useful.
I have one that has a spork on it.
A spork? So like if you're trying to eat in the wilderness, but you're like, oh, I don't have a spoon.
Yeah.
I need to eat my soup.
No, it has a fork, a spoon, and a spork.
Oh, it has both? Wow. Why do
All
you need
three.
why do you need a spork if you have a fork and a spoon?
Because sporks can be used for like, I don't know.
Like different things?
Yeah, like soup and noodles together.
Huh, interesting. Well, they didn't need a spork to rescue themselves from Charles Muntz. They did need the cane, and they did need the wit of everyone to go in the same place, including Doug, who makes a pivotal moment when he sticks the alpha dog's head in the cone of shame, so that the dogs start to lay off of the of Carl and Russell. And finally, we get an ending scene where Russell and Carl are versing a shotgun and Charles Muntz.
Yes.
And they win somehow, miraculously.
Charles Muntz floats away with like 3 or 4 balloons.
So he might have survived.
Maybe.
But probably not.
And I mean, he looked pretty skinny.
It's also Pixar, so we can't you gotta have that little strand of hope that somebody might still be alive.
Up 2, down.
Well, we never got that movie. And
hey,
it's kind
you
of
never
sad.
know. It's been like, what, 11 years?
11 years. That's true. Pixar typically doesn't release sequels until
When was... Cars sequel came out way after Cars 1.
Yeah, but even more
Monsters
so...
University came out way after that.
The most was probably Incredibles and Incredibles 2.
Yeah, that's true.
That was the longest, I think, between.
Was that like 2001?
Yeah, something like that.
2008 or 5?
I think
It's
it was
in the
2004
2000s.
to 2018.
Oh, wow.
So
14 years. So 3 more years for an up 2, down.
3 more years for down. Yeah. So now, is this movie a watch, botch, or top notch?
Ooh. It's definitely...
Oh man, this is a tough one. Who wants to go first?
So botch means you don't watch it. Watch means you watch it. Top notch means you have to watch it.
You must watch it. It's necessary to watch it.
Yes. Ooh, I would say watch.
Yeah, it's in the upper echelons of watch.
Yes.
I guess it's probably not necessary in movie history
I would
to
say
watch this movie.
Pretty please watch.
Yes. Because it's not necessarily innovative enough, but it's such a good story.
Yeah, and it makes you cry, you know?
Yeah, it gets you emotionally. more than most movies, especially for like a movie that's generally aimed at a wide audience.
Yeah, and there's like in the first couple scenes when Mr. Fredricksen hits that guy in the beginning, there's like a lot of blood. It's like gushing.
Yeah, that's true.
And then at the end when he's like sword fighting and everything, and then I don't know. I feel like there was just a lot of Pixar. I mean, they drink in it. I'm not saying drinking is bad, but I'm just saying like that's
Like,
weird for
it's a
Pixar.
kids movie.
Yeah.
They deal with more serious topics though when it's Pixar. There
And
was definitely
death, like Ellie
death.
dying of cancer and
And-
having a miscarriage.
And it is implied, yeah, that there's a miscarriage, and that was very, very delicately handled, and I thought they did a really good job of portraying that for children who won't necessarily understand what that is, but also presenting the pain that going through that is. It's just, like, that definitely got me the most, that particular moment in the movie. But favorite scenes? Happier things. What are your favorite scenes?
I don't know. My favorite scenes might be the sadder scenes.
Yeah.
I really liked. Oh wait, I don't know. I really liked the introduction of Doug was funny.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if I liked the action the most, but we can talk about that later. But I'm
We have
not
to talk
really
about that
sure.
later.
And I really liked the Mr. Fredricksen and Ellie montage in the beginning. That was really, really good. And yeah, I didn't necessarily like Charles Muntz that much. Again, I'm like judging a kids movie, so I sound like stupid.
He's no Kylo Ren. Oh, wait. He might not be that good either.
I like Kylo Ren, but wait, you don't like Kylo Ren?
No, I like Kylo Ren,
Okay,
actually.
I was gonna say what's his shirtless part? Remember that?
Oh,
shirtless
yeah.
scene? Yeah.
And his voice is just so, like,
Commanding.
commanding, and just, like, you just want to keep hearing it. It's so good.
That's true.
My favorite scene is probably the opening scene, the opening 10 minutes, where Carl doesn't talk at all for the first 10 minutes. Other people talk, but Carl...
So you just don't like Carl
never
talking.
talks. No, he's good when he starts talking, but the moment that he talks, like, the movie transitions to a different part.
Mm-hmm.
The first 10 minutes are just... They're one of the... Like, a lot of movies really misuse montages. That's definitely been talked about by movie critics, like, throughout the decades. That
Us in The Notebook.
Yeah, there's a lot of times that movies just, like, use montages to, like, get through parts, and it's kind of lazy. This was a really well-used montage.
It really was.
The
It
only-
sets up the plot pretty perfectly.
Yeah, the rest of the movie would mean almost nothing if there was not this setup.
It's like, you know those sad YouTube videos where you watch something and it's like shows you a little montage of like something that's really sad just to
Yeah.
get you depressed. You know those when you get in
Yeah,
that mood?
yeah.
But it's like that, like you watch it, but then you get to see what happens afterwards, you know? So it's really interesting to see like the after effects of such a loss like that.
Yeah, and it does provide hope for people who have gone through the circumstances that he's gone through, and kind of like, and it filled in some holes in his life that he missed out on through his relationship with Russell.
I'm not sure, like Inside Out and all those new Coco and everything. I'm not sure like the messages in that movie are as like heavy or.
I
as-
disagree with you about Inside Out. Inside
Really?
Out is very heavy.
How heavy?
No, it's heavy.
You're talking about like anxiety.
No, you need to rewatch Inside Out. That movie is like
what part of it was deep?
like the whole thing. It's a metaphor for a child's.
Yeah, it's
Like-
a psyche for a child, but that's not talking about like death and age and like moving on.
Okay, I guess it's not talking about death. Coco's talking about death.
But that
How is-
they make it fun. They make death fun. Like they make it a really really fun extravagant party.
Yeah, but then he has to deal with. Okay, we're not reviewing Coco,
But nothing ever happens in
love
that movie.
Coco,
Nobody
though.
ever dies except for that one guy in the hammock,
Okay, fine.
Hector's friend.
We'll have to review both of those movies in depth so that I can talk about more detailed why I like those movies.
Okay, yeah.
But before we get any further, you might have noticed in this movie that a house was displaced and even smashed to the ground.
Yeah?
I don't know what Carl is going to do when he gets back. He doesn't have a house. He's lost all of his possessions. He has no money. I hope that he purchased house insurance. Home insurance. Whatever you call it. And if he didn't, he should really be looking at Hedman Anglin Agency, which is the sponsor of our episode. Hedman Anglin Agency saves people on average $500 on car and auto insurance. Call Hedman Anglin Agency today at 614-486-7300. That's 614-486-7300. if you do, make sure to tell them that Zach and I sent you. And
Good grammar.
Good grammar, yes. And if you happen to put balloons on your house, I'm not really sure how insurance works for that, but I hope they can work something out for you. And if you think that you're planning on doing that, you might want to specifically talk to them before you actually do it, because I don't know that that is covered by most home insurances, but if you check, you might be able to find out whether it is or not.
And please don't hit anyone.
Yeah. I do know that they actually tried to do this, like actually put balloons on houses, and I think it worked, but not like it worked in this movie.
I will say another favorite scene that I had was when he first gets the house off the ground, and then it's like showing like all the different reactions and stuff. I don't know, like everybody, and he hits like the van at first, and he goes through a building, and there's this little girl in her room, and she's like looking out the window, and the balloons are all there, making her room all colorful and stuff.
Yeah,
it was really good animation, I'd say. It was very creative.
Yeah, they did do it.
But they probably did not use the same size balloons.
Also, yeah, look, they were a lot bigger.
Oh, huge. Wow.
And it actually did get pretty high, it looks like. I don't know how high. And obviously this is on Daily Mail, which isn't generally the most trustworthy news source, I don't believe. So I went. But if you're interested, definitely look up National Geographic's Real Life Up House. It's a fascinating experiment. So we get to our outsider review, which is done by Elaine Jones. Eileen Jones, excuse me, of The Exile. The Exile. I don't know what kind of publication that is exactly. And her scathing review, which was one of the very, very few rotten reviews of this movie.
But we had to find a bad one, because they were all good. It was
our outsider reviews are always negative, if possible. If it's 100%, I don't know what we do, but we always try to find a negative review for every movie. Because you can always be a pessimist.
Yes.
Truthfully, it was only the bird and the dog that saved me from bolting out of the theater. They rated some laughs. This person has no heart. Well, how cold-hearted do you have to be to not connect to the story? Like, this person saying that the
dog
humor
and the bird
that was added into the movie to provide some levity to an otherwise kind of seriously toned movie
was Russell.
I guess it's not really fair to call this seriously toned. A lot of it was that it was funny. But I don't know. I really disagree with that. But we will compare our ratings to the scathing review now in this segment.
I think we should make a motto of that. You can always be a pessimist.
You can always be a pessimist.
We should always look for the worst.
You actually can, because that's like as I've done. I used to be not as good at rating movies because I felt like I always rated things mostly positively.
Does that imply that we're good now?
Yeah, actually, we're probably still not that good, but we at least rate things a little lower than we used to. Actually, Zach might even rate some things higher than he used to, because we were like the opposite. I was like the optimist, and he was the pessimist.
But we've stayed in a range.
Yeah, we have stayed in our range. We haven't seen anything great. Well, actually, we don't know. We haven't seen anything terrible. At least I don't think we have.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay, that is not true. Nacho Libre. Sure. Okay,
Nacho Libre was funny. It accomplished what it accomplished. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, what did it accomplish? I don't know.
It accomplished an atmosphere. That's more than you can say of Nacho Libre.
Nacho Libre wrestled in its own atmosphere, okay? It didn't just create an atmosphere.
Okay, fine. All right, scores.
Okay.
Sentiment. Let's see.
Sentiment.
How did we feel about this movie?
Sentiment. Well, I gave Sentiment a 9.
I also gave Sentiment a 9.
Yes. That's all we have to say.
That's all we have to
say.
Smile
at the camera.
Okay, Message. What do we give Message?
I gave that an 8.
I gave Message a 10.
No.
Yes, I did.
No. Wait, why?
Because we talked about this. The story is about somebody who loses someone who's very important and dear in their life. It is very understandable that you be sad if somebody is lost in your life. If you've lost somebody, it is very difficult to go through. There's no taking that away. But to find purpose in helping others, like Carl finds when he starts not just being annoyed by Russell, is very sweet because Russell lost a father figure through divorce. We are led to believe through the events of this story
And theories.
and theories. He really needs someone in his life, and Carl presumably doesn't have a lot of his life left to give, but he still has a little bit that he can, and he gives it. He learns that Russell is that person that he can give it to, and I just think that is like almost as good of a message as you can have in a movie. 10 is a little bit strong, so
well, it's the strongest that you can be.
The strongest that I can give it. So in 40 or 50 episodes of this show, will I look back and maybe foolishly think that, oh, I should have given this a 9 or 8?
Yes.
Maybe, because I won't know what else I'll be comparing it to in the future. But since we've only done 10 episodes, this is definitely by far the best.
Is this episode 10?
Yes, this is episode 10. Kind of a big deal. Not really, but kind of.
10 weeks.
10 weeks of this.
I can't believe I've done 10 weeks of this with you.
No, you've actually done 9. Because David did 1 week.
Oh, yeah.
I've done David, 10 weeks. The way. So now Zach will always be behind until he somehow gets me to miss a week.
I know how to do that. Message. What did you give Message, Ben?
Oh, wait, we already did Message.
What did you give Plot, Ben?
I gave Plot an 8. What'd you give?
How did I forget Message? Okay.
What did you give Plot?
I gave Plot 7.
Okay.
So pretty good.
Yeah, pretty equal.
It was pretty good, but like the final battle came like so quick at the end, and then like Charles Muntz was like introduced as the bad guy. The movie was only an hour and a half, so they had to fit a whole villain within the last half hour of the movie.
Bit shoved in, probably.
Like right at the end.
They just needed to have a villain, and he was kind of important. They kind of set him up as being important because they had this like really kind of not as well put together part about his childhood hero being not a great person,
and like that didn't affect him.
Yeah, not as much.
Yeah, Ellie was the main focus. Ellie was what this movie, him and Ellie. So, anyway.
All right, cinematography, which is, in this case, animation.
Yeah, okay, so this is Pixar, although I would say it's not Pixar's strongest cinematography. Although the ideas and the visuals looked cool. Like the shots, that's what I'm basing it off of. The shots.
The shots.
The creative shots. I give it a 6.
Oh my goodness, I gave it an 8. Because I feel like Pixar... Maybe we were looking at this differently, though, because I wasn't really looking at the shots. I was mostly looking at the animation.
Yeah.
And it's hard to give Pixar ever anything below an 8, other than in, like, Cars 2, maybe. And cinematography.
And Cars
Even
3.
Cars 2 was probably really good cinematography.
Flynn McRider?
Flynn McMissile.
Flynn
McMissile.
McRider. What's that from?
I don't know. Ghost Rider. Nicolas Cage.
Great movie.
Great movie. 10 out of 10. Must watch. Top notch.
Top notch, yeah. Wait, must watch. Somebody else copyrighted that one.
Yeah. Oh, we're not allowed to say that.
I'm just kidding. Okay.
Character arcs.
7.
9, but I kind of forgot about the villain's character arc, which
That's what I factored
good.
in. I factored in the villain's character arc and the construction workers, each one by one. No, I'm just kidding. I only there's only like 3 characters that have character arcs.
Doug. It's Doug, Russell
and Carl.
And they're good They're really good character arcs.
Yeah.
The villain's character arc is not great.
Doug's isn't super great. It's more simple, but that's funny because it's a dog.
Like, I feel like there's not a lot you can do more with Doug's, though.
Yeah, that's true. He was funny. He was comic relief, and he made the right choice. He had a little character arc. But yeah, so I mean, it just kind of makes sense because the villain had... I didn't really know anything about Charles Muntz. Again, like, it feels weird to critique a kid's movie, like a villain in a kid's movie. Like, of course it's not going to be that great. But, like, a kid's show, Avatar The Last Airbender, the villains in that show were pretty cool.
Yeah, so maybe the villain didn't have enough time to develop. And maybe this movie was actually too short. Something I would say of very few movies. That I would.
Yeah, this was like an hour and a half.
I would much rather watch a movie that's an hour and a half than any other length. That's so perfect.
That's true.
Except for sometimes you just have to squeeze a little bit too much in that time.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half is a much longer, or much better time than like 2 hour and 40-minute movie.
Yeah, 2 hour and 40 minutes. Like, it better be a good movie, otherwise I'm going to be upset. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes, exactly. Okay, next.
Originality.
9.
8.
Okay, I gave it 9 because like that's so original.
Okay, yeah, I gave it an 8. I don't know why I gave it an 8, but it is very original. Like, the whole concept was like, I can't. There's very few influences. Now, David pointed out that there might have been a slight Roadrunner influence on Kevin. Slight.
That's why I didn't give it a 10.
That's why you didn't give it a 10, because it's not completely original.
Yeah, they stole it from Looney Tunes. Is that Looney Tunes?
Yeah, that's Looney Tunes.
Okay.
I think.
I don't know.
Correct me. Email us if I'm wrong.
Hateful emails. We like hateful emails.
All right. Is there anything else to say about originality?
Not really.
Okay, acting.
7.
8. Good actors. It's hard to tell whether voice actors are good or bad most of the time.
But it was believable, and you didn't really feel like they didn't represent their characters.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. There's nobody who was sounded stupid to the face that they had.
Yep.
Stop.
Even the dogs.
Oh, sorry.
Even the dogs.
Even the dogs. And the high pitch was kind of funny a little bit.
Yeah, Doug's voice sounded like a golden retriever.
Yeah, actually it did.
So, anyway, style 7.
7.
I like it.
It's a good style.
It's like it's not quirky. It's like funny because Carl's like the grumpy old man, and then there's like a bunch of happy people that he's surrounded by. Like Kevin's not happy, but like Doug's always happy, Russell's always happy, and it's like their combating personalities are funny. So it's like The Breakfast Club, but in Pixar.
I've never watched The Breakfast Club, but I hope that comparison makes sense, and it probably does.
It doesn't really. I take that back. Anyway.
John Hughes could have written this movie. No, I'm just kidding. It wouldn't have been as good if he wrote this.
Pete Docter wrote this, right?
Yeah, I actually don't know whether he wrote it. He definitely directed it.
Oh.
The story, yeah. The screenplay is by Pete Docter and Bob Peterson.
Okay.
So, yes.
Cool.
How about the score?
9.
Really? I give it a 7. Okay, actually, yeah, the score was good.
I remember that, and that song gets stuck in my head at random times. I'll be in the bathroom, and that song will come in my head for some reason.
Yeah, there were a lot of tunes that I was like, I've definitely heard this somewhere. It was odd.
Even the action scenes were like, dun 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 dun.
So they use that song a bunch in the movie? I didn't really notice that.
They used it like 4 times in the movie.
Oh, that's very
for long
clever.
periods of times, because they had little short ones. And obviously the montage was full of it, but other than that.
Yeah.
So
that's good. All right, and now the final one, which I think we're going to have different scores on.
Oh, wait, hold on. And the montage, like the sad montage, like the score in that was really sad.
That's true. It really...
Like the violin.
It really got your feelings going, and it really had to, because montage, it's very important to have good music.
I'm not going to admit, I saw Ben crying.
I probably was tearing up.
I saw him crying, and I helped him with his tears. I gave him a little tissue.
You wiped them away,
yeah.
But... We can't talk about me crying forever, so let's get on to choreography.
Okay, I gave it a 6.
I gave it a 7. A little generous, but yes.
It's the action scenes were my least favorite part of this movie.
Okay, they're like funny.
They're creative because they're using a big blimp, and they're using a house with balloons, and like those are like the plot devices that they use for the action scenes. But the part that I don't really like is like the fight scenes, and it's weird. Like the dogs are like wrestling and biting each other, and like. I don't know. It reminds me of like. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
It's very strange, but I thought it was decent and fit the movie, so that's why I gave it a 7. So what does that bring us to on our final scores?
I gave it a 75.
I gave it an 81. So once again, both of us gave it our highest scores. Zach continues to be a little bit stingier on his ratings.
What was my other highest score? Wasn't it like a 74?
It was 73, I believe, on
So
10.
I brought it up 2%.
2%, and mine was a 78, so I brought mine up 3%.
81%. We never had a score in the 80s before.
So this is technically not our first movie in the 80s if you average our scores, though, I believe.
What?
No, so...
How would that make sense?
No, so 81 times plus 75 divided by 2 is not...
Oh, you're talking about our average.
Our average.
I'm sorry. Okay.
So yes, it's the first one in 80% that one of us is given 80% to, which we consider elite. So I'm considering this an elite movie.
Okay. That makes
Barely.
sense.
But
I get it.
But collectively, we do not dub it elite, so we can't technically give it elite status. The first movie that gets it elite status from both of us, that's going to be a big deal, because we're through 10 movies, and we've gotten a couple close, but none actually into elite status.
What did you say elite would be?
80% or higher.
But, like, just 80.
Yeah,
that
just
seems
80.
that seems
90%,
easy to beat, though.
90% or higher is, like, above elite. That's,
Okay.
like legendary,
Okay.
I feel like.
Okay. I feel like we'll find one of those.
Eventually, we will find a legendary movie that we both agree is legendary.
These are like Pokemon.
Yes. It's very rare. You have to keep opening them. We keep opening movies
Cards.
from the vault, and they keep not being the rare ones.
Please provide us with never mind. That's
We also haven't found any like super garbage movies yet, so I guess it wouldn't really be my favorite thing to do to watch a 2.5 hour super garbage movie. That Once Upon a Time in Hollywood does not count as that.
So for my perspective, I watched a 2.5 hour garbage movie. So,
But I haven't yet, guys. So you gotta challenge
good
me
for
with
Ben.
one.
Good for Ben. He's had a 10 out of 10. I've had a 9 out of 10. So anyway, what's the next section that we've got?
Brita moments.
Brita moments are a reference to one of our favorite TV shows, Community, by Dan Harmon, and Britta is played by Gillian Jacobs, and she is a very hated character on that show. And
Everybody knows it. Even the people on the show know it.
That's true. So everybody hates her, and even the show jokes about hating her.
Yeah.
And it's so true. I hate her, and I don't want her to be.
She is
a living
absolutely
character.
pointless in the entire show. The only
Except
point
for the first episode.
Yeah, except for the first episode. The entire point of her being there is so everyone can make fun of her for having no point of being on the show.
Yeah.
Because it's that meta. All right. But do you have any of these? Like,
Just not like there's not really Britta moments. Like there's nothing I would say I hate, but I didn't really like, Charles. I just thought it was kind of stupid.
Charles Britta Muntz. This is his middle name because he's a Britta. That was a clever joke, guys.
Clever.
Let me think. There was a couple of things that stuck out to me as making not a whole lot of sense in the balloon chasing scenes or like in things.
Okay, I do have to say the hose on that house.
Okay, yes.
Holding the house by that hose the entire time with Mr. Fredrickson holding the house by the hose on the top of a blimp.
It finally gave way at the end, but it seems like that hose should have been gone a long time ago.
And it was shot with darts.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have still worked.
That's the part that I didn't like. The dogs were so bad at aiming. They were like stormtroopers in Star Wars. They could not hit a balloon. There's so many balloons, and they are shooting rapidly these darts, and they could not hit a single balloon. It made no sense.
And then they hit all the way up the hose.
Yeah. Yeah, how does that make any sense?
I don't know.
So,
Squirrel.
A lot of these are... Squirrel! A lot of these are just, like, plot-saving devices.
That's true.
So, sometimes you have to suspend your disbelief to get the plot through this entire movie you did, but some parts were just kind of annoying to have to do that, too. All right. Stock market?
Yes. This is the section where we invest or sell.
So, do you want to invest
in characters
in
or actors?
Characters
in actors,
or
right?
actors, or people who directed the movie, or people who produced the movie, or really anybody.
I would invest in Pixar.
I would also invest in Pixar.
100%.
Because this is not Cars 2 or Cars 3, so I would definitely invest in
I would invest $1,253.73 into Pixar.
That would have made a lot of money, probably. Mm-hmm. Because Pixar is probably the most consistent. I will go out on a limb to say they are the most consistent.
No, that's not a limb.
Studio,
it's been proven.
Like, almost of all time. Like, Marvel has been very consistent. Their wing.
Sort of.
Sort of. But Pixar is much, much more consistent.
Yeah.
Like, people consider a large majority of the Pixar movies to be just, like, masterworks of animation. There's a few of them that are at the bottom that aren't as good. But even
some of them are sequels.
Some of them are sequels, and some of them, a lot of the other animation studios would love to have that be one of their movies, even though Pixar would consider it not their best.
That's true. That's true.
I
would even say some of the sequels are great, like Monsters University or Incredibles 2.
Yeah, I don't really like Incredibles 2 as much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to know why, suggest both of those movies. So, because we can't do Incredibles 2
Why
first.
not?
I guess we
Let's
can.
just do a little recap of the first one. Anyway, I would invest in... So, I know...
Pete Docter would have actually been a great person to invest in because now he is the president of Pixar.
Is he really?
So if you invested him in 2009, his stock would have risen a lot.
Okay.
He also
we're in 2009 right now, so I'm investing in Pete Docter.
I'm investing in Pete Docter, and I made a lot of money on that.
How much
now,
money?
Future me. Oh, tons of money.
But like,
because he also directed Inside Out. And
I'm
wrote
your
that.
stockbroker. You have to give me an exact amount.
Okay, so how much did you invest? Or
In Pete Docter?
I have to invest in
I
Pete
would
Docter.
invest $923.73.
You have now made $9,023.73.
Wow. That's like a 1,000 or 1,200%, 1,200% increase.
Yes. That's not as much as the increase as if you had invested that like before he directed Monsters Inc. But
Wow.
that would have been a sharp rise. That would have been like Pete Docter was in penny stocks, and then he directed Monsters Inc. and all of a sudden he's in dollars. So
And
you would have
then-
made a ton of money on that.
By the time did he direct Monsters University?
I don't think that he directed Monsters University.
Well, I like this guy
because he
then.
was doing Inside Out.
I really like Pete Docter.
And yeah, Pete Docter, and he's a Christian. Did you know that?
Wow.
Yeah, he is. So a lot of
Are there any gospel parallels in Up?
not I wouldn't say directly. I would say that mostly Pete Docter, he does do that sort of thing, but it's more through a like
Broader lens.
a broader lens. Yes,
Okay.
I would say, because a lot of the things that are in this movie you could say are like would reflect the Bible in terms of like how they view life.
Okay.
I would say. You
Yeah.
can disagree with me, especially if you're not a Christian. You can send us an email. And if you are a Christian, you can also disagree with us. It
And
doesn't
if you
matter.
don't know, you can also email us.
You can
Or if
also
you
email
don't
us.
even care, you can also email us.
Yes.
We're very lonely.
Yes.
And we want you to email us.
We do want you to email us. We have gotten more emails lately, but
have actually, yeah.
we still could use a few more. Who else could you even invest in stock in this movie?
I don't know. I don't know the actor for
the
Russell.
actors. Ed Asner. I know the name. He was in the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Yeah, you definitely would not invest in this guy because he's old. Like he's not gonna be in anything like.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And
Ed.
Jordan Nagy as Russell is like he would have been a terrible investment because his Wikipedia page just says he's known for being the voice actor of Up, which means he probably didn't.
What about Christopher Plummer as Charles Muntz?
This guy was in other movies.
He was in The Sound of Music.
Whoa,
George Von Trapp.
Oh wow,
But that's 1965.
that was
way
one of the
before.
Nazi. No, I don't exactly know who that was, but I actually like Sound of Music. It's a good movie. But you wouldn't invest in him. Did you know that Pete Docter played Kevin? So that's even more money that you get investing in Pete.
How does Pete Docter play Kevin? Kevin just makes noises.
I guess
Does he
Pete
make
Docter
those noises?
can make those noises. This is like Brad Bird. He directed The Incredibles.
Yeah, Incredibles.
And he played Edna Mode, the like old
No.
lady. Yeah, he did. He's so good.
So I'm assuming he directed the second one, I think.
Yeah, he did.
And he also played her in that?
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, Brad Bird
Edna
is quite.
Mode.
And then John Ratzenberg is in every Pixar movie as somebody, and he was playing one of the construction workers. I think he plays Mac in Cars.
Yeah, he's Mac, and then what other ones is he?
So Ratzenberg is like a good safe bet, a hold.
Yeah,
Probably.
wait, click on him. I want to see what else he is in Pixar.
So Ratzenberg. Is,
Oh, he's the abominable snowman in Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
And the Underminer in Incredibles.
and he's actually one of the most successful actors in terms of box offices because since he's in every Pixar movie, he gets. So if you add up the box office totals of all the Pixar movies, which I think he's in almost every single one, that is so much money because this one made $735 million, and that's probably not even close to like the highest.
Toy
of
Stories. He plays Ham in all 4 Toy Stories.
Yeah,
The pig.
I think he's like. He played Ham. He played,
Mustafa in Ratatouille. John
Yeah.
in Wall-E. Tom the construction worker in Up. Fritz in Inside Out. Earl the Velociraptor in The Good Dinosaur. Bill the Crab in Finding Dory. Juan Ortononcia in Coco.
I don't really know who that is.
Fenwick the construction worker in Onward. Oh, I remember that now. And then Mac the Truck in the Cars series.
The Underminer. He's the Underminer, and
Yeah.
I don't really know who. Oh, he's the School of Moonfish.
Yeah.
In Finding Nemo.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
the like people who point the direction.
Oh,
I
he's
think.
the circus ringleader in A Bug's Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. Those are all his rules.
Yeah, these are a lot of them are like just like small roles, but he played a couple big ones. Mac being probably the biggest one, and Ham actually.
Yeah,
So-
Ham was a big one. I don't know about the other ones. What about? I don't remember A Bug's Life that much. The circus ringleader, was he in it a lot or no? Wasn't it like?
No, he was in it a little bit. He was kind of a more major role.
What about Fritz in Inside Out? I don't remember that.
I don't know who Fritz was. I mean, I haven't watched that movie in a while.
Okay.
He did a lot of voice work. I thought he also just worked for Pixar in general. I don't really know exactly.
So he'll probably be in Soul. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
invest in him.
Yeah, I'm saying this guy, he holds his stock
Mm-hmm.
because he's in everything, and he's kind of a legend. So like, he'd be like your traditional like power stock.
Okay, I'll say $4,733.73.
Yeah, and I'm saying hold. Also, Jess Harnell, I know him from a couple things. and he's like a voice actor who's just like in everything, and so it's funny that he is in this movie.
Anyway, what's our next section?
Feedback. Okay, next section.
Final round conclusions and social media plugs. Why did I add that? Okay, final round conclusions. What did you think? Any final thoughts?
I don't know. We've talked a lot about like how this movie is. Pixar must be applauded for how they are able to take movies that are aimed for children and also make them very relevant for adults. Like, this is a movie that you can grow with. Like, you can start out as a kid and get something out of it, and then we're both like teenagers, young adults, like starting to get older. We get a little bit different perspective out of it, and then I'm assuming as you're married, you get something out of it, and as you get towards the end of your life, you get something out of it. So that's a very rare thing for something to cross all generations.
Yeah.
And be able to like have something in there for everyone.
Yeah, I think you're right. Moving on and finding something new after a loss is definitely a theme not touched on by kids movies or even in some movies. Like I think about like the John Wick trilogy. He doesn't move on in a healthy way at all. Okay?
No, he just spends 3 movies trying to kill people.
Yeah, and then he's going to spend a 4th and a 5th doing it too. And now I'm saying like there's a lot of movies that deal with it by like revenge or like satire or like I don't know.
Yeah,
but in this movie they do it in a very somber way by him not filling the gap but like moving on to something else and finding something new because that he realizes that chapter is closed and he realizes that the son or daughter that they miscarried, like that role could be fulfilled by Russell.
Yeah, and he didn't even understand that probably before all of this happened, he didn't understand why that was allowed to be in his life. But now that he is 70, 80 years old, he sees, oh, this is why I went through all of this for this kid. And it's an amazing thing. And only Pixar seems to be really able to hit at that deep of a level.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I love Despicable Me, and Despicable Me
that's
actually hits deeper than a lot of other Illumination movies.
Yeah.
But even it's not even close to hitting this deep.
No,
this is
it's going to a daughter's dance recital or stealing the moon. This one is about like his dad isn't around and his dad can't come to his. I guess it's the same thing because they're adopted.
But it just seems like it touches on more things.
It definitely does because it shows it from both perspectives, Russell and Mr. Fredrickson's, and they do that in Despicable Me. But you're right, it goes deeper and up. But I think the coolest part was like at the end when he shows up. Like all the dads are there for their sons to get the patches to become senior explorers, and Mr. Fredrickson shows up for Russell, and then they go and have ice cream like him and his dad used to do.
Yeah, it's an amazing way to end a movie,
and it's a very clear way of showing that like okay, Russell's getting that father figure fulfilled by Mr. Fredrickson, and Mr. Fredrickson had that lost child who's being fulfilled by Russell.
Yeah, you can't have everything be like super underground if it's a kids movie. You need to make some things like clearly obvious.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like obvious besides the fact that Russell talked about the ice cream in the middle of the movie.
Yeah. So for social media plugs, social media plugs. If Zach's done talking, are you done talking?
No, I was just laughing. Go ahead.
We have Instagram at the Movie Vault Pod, Twitter at Movie Vault Pod. So no the in the Twitter. Our email is themovievaultpod@gmail.com. You can send us feedback, movie suggestions, anything that you would like to talk to us about, really. You can also DM us on Instagram or Twitter. I will probably check Instagram more, though.
Yeah.
Emma and Kenzie also check those things. So.
And I'm sorry. I literally interrupted you. I'm so sorry.
No, I was actually done.
Okay, good. I also want to shout out to Anne because Anne said that she would listen to this episode.
Yeah, shout out to Anne.
If you aren't listening to this episode, we're gonna know.
We're gonna know because you won't have heard the shout out.
Yep.
So
we're gonna ask you.
And it'll be a disappointment for you too.
Yeah, you're gonna be disappointed in yourself.
Yes. And on that note,
it's time to close the vault.
It is time to close the vault. Zach, will you do the honors?
This time I can do the honors?
You get to do the honors, Zach.
Okay, now it's time to close the vault.